Hey guys, welcome back to another week of astrology. Today we're going to be looking at the astrology of August 3rd to August 9th of 2021. My name's David. I'm your astrologer from Haunted Cerebral Astrology. Thanks for being here. Thanks for all your support, liking, commenting, subscribing. It all means a super lot to me and it goes a very long way. Just a reminder, my new website is online. It includes an easy to book service and scheduler system. And lots of information about what I'm doing and how we can work together to help you on this journey and help you with whatever topics of concern you want to go through. And we can look at the astrology for how that's going to help you. So information for that is in the description box. So this week, I'm going to probably do a little bit less with blog posts and things like that. And I am going to do the election video just because this week's a bit more just like lunar transits. And I got a lot going on, so I'm probably just going to do the recording here and leave that as it is. But I'll be back with more blog posts in the coming weeks. So anyway, let's open up what's going on with the transits this week and kind of get right into it. So let's see. There you can see the astrology for this week. I'm going to continue to do things a little bit differently from as I was doing the weeks before. Rather than starting on Monday, which I'm recording this on, I'm recording it on Monday, August 2nd. I'm going to start from the Tuesday on the next day, just because I'm realizing that I'm doing the astrology on the Monday, and often I'm getting to it around, I'm finishing my notes and everything, getting to it like later in the afternoon. So, some of the things have already happened. So I figured, why not? Let's just start with the Tuesday. So kind of the big things happening this week, as you can see, it's mostly just lunar transits this week. But the bigger transits kind of going on is that Venus trine Uranus. Could be uncomfortable, but maybe exciting. Try and break that down a bit, what that means. It happens kind of simultaneously to the moon squaring Venus as well, which follows up to that Mercury squaring Uranus too. So something maybe boastful about what we're exchanging right now, but it's going to force some sort of changes going on, things that are going to disrupt things, regardless of if we want them to or not. And then we have the sun squaring Uranus, just like emphasizing that, maybe making things more hectic. Things are just kind of breaking down, seeing that the story so far it needs to change, that the way things were in the past, they can't be continuing on into the future on some level. And then at the end of the week, we get that new moon in Leo, and it's just like a fresh start. And it's all these kind of solar themes going on that are getting a big fresh start now as we move into the next lunar cycle. So let's clear up the week preview there and just get right into it. So starting on August 3rd, and again, for anyone who's tuning in for the first time, I'm reading from Berlin, Germany. It doesn't matter where you're reading from. You can adjust the times to anywhere. The transits are all going to have the same meanings wherever you are. Think about it as a world clock. Just because you see where the time you are now, it could be a different time somewhere else, but it's still the same day. It's still the same moment in time. It's just a different perspective, but it's all going to have the same meaning. So think about it that way. Okay, so let's open up with August 3rd. First things first, we get the moon moving into the conjunction with the nodes. So this kind of culminates what's been kind of going on since the moon moves past the south node. So even it kind of emphasizes what I've been talking about with the kind of moon moving between the nodes this past, especially since the eclipse season, once the sun moved past Gemini, where there's this kind of weird contrast between increasing and decreasing. So on one level, there's this increasing because the moon is moving into the north node, and the north node generally has to do with increasing things, entangling things, just this increase in kind of worldly insatiable hungerness in general. But at the same time, the moon is also moving towards the new moon. So it's waning, the moon's waning. So there's something about wanting things to be closed up, starting to consolidate things, starting to see things from a perspective where not everything's going to happen all at once. We can't do everything. So it's kind of a weird contrast between the two. And it could be that things are kind of hectic as the moon has been in Gemini. That kind of moving towards the node, things are just kind of getting a little bit more hectic in general. But at the same time, the moon is maybe more comfortable and it's coming around to the node. It's been coming around to the north node for a while. And I think it's more comfortable coming up to it just because we're not dealing with the same chaos that the eclipse has brought anymore. It's more just kind of business as usual on some level. Things are a little bit more familiar, but at the same time, they're increasing, even though on some level, we want things to consolidate and decrease. So there's this contrast between those two things. The moon is trying to do more lunar things, but it's doing them with Mercury's resources. And where's Mercury? Mercury's in Leo there, just moving out of the cazimi and is now combust under the sun. So on some level, we're trying to rationalize our circumstances, bodies, temperaments, environments, feelings, different lunar things, trying to be more objective maybe about our circumstances, but also trying to vocalize what is going on with us, not really trying to keep secrets, especially after the moon, Mercury moved out of that cazimi. Mercury is in Leo. So there is this kind of boldness maybe to our voices, just saying things because we have to say them, getting things out there. And maybe this is us about wanting to get things out there in general and just being more vocal. And there's going to be this impulse to be more vocal, to get the voice out into the world, to materialize it with the moon moving into the conjunction with the North Node. But then moving forward, the moon then makes that trine to Saturn and also sextiles with the sun. So on some level, I think this connection, this translation between the two, on some level is just be a little bit cautious about things. Not everything is going to be for everyone. There's some adjustments we can make now to some of the exchanges going on to the story and where we're at, where our authenticity is at, where things are really changing for the sun right now. And with that trine to Saturn, it's okay, maybe we can have a more sympathetic and also empowering and kind of supportive place from maybe more of our cautions, and seeing how with Saturn in Aquarius kind of decentralized and trying to control things from this more decentralized place, that maybe where our voices are at is not necessarily for everyone. We don't have to share our message to the big group. We can also share it in individual circumstances as well. So after that, then we get the trine of Venus into Uranus. So this could be interesting. It could be, Tuesday night could be maybe even a kinky or sexy evening for people, or a series of events, maybe Monday leading into Tuesday even for people here in Central Europe. But wherever you are, this kind of leading into Venus into Uranus, there could be something uncomfortable but exciting at the same time. Venus is in Venus's fall in Virgo, so there could be the potential to have slips and fall into pitfalls of some kind, to things for things that have to do with Venus, things to be in these more be out of its comfort zone and to do things that it doesn't necessarily want to do. It has to be too specific. It wants everything to be perfect and fit into this cookie cutter box with a specific thing, but maybe that's not possible right now. But on some level, this kind of trine to Uranus, it's kind of, things are not the same as usual. Things are kind of weird, but it could be a good chance for us to get out of our comfort zone, for things to be that things could be the ideal moment to do something different in this sense. So something that has to be something that is different, with things that we thought were more steadfast, things that we thought were more steady and grounded and rooted with Uranus and Taurus, but are being disrupted and changed in ways that we don't really necessarily understand, but they are going into changes anyway. And maybe with Venus trining to Taurus, it could be that we just get out of our comfort zone and what we expect things to do with Venus, things like connecting, centralizing, enjoying, consuming, and having fun. Maybe we start to do those in different ways. And I kind of made a note here that I thought was interesting too, is just how here in Berlin, Germany, there's this, and it's all over Europe now, there's this company called Gorillas, and they do 10-minute grocery delivery. I mean, maybe for some, this is not really new and exciting. It started last year, but now there's new companies doing the same thing. Started in May 2020. But it was interesting that it was started during the first ingress of Saturn into Aquarius, just before it retrograded. So there's something about like this decentralization of how we control and do things to the norm, and how things are progressing versus past versus future, and trying to contemplate and to isolate things like that, and to put in boundaries of things like that. And that Uranus is like disrupting that and changing things. So it's like maybe our typical way of getting groceries changes. Maybe we weren't really comfortable with the idea of that to begin with, but realizing that actually maybe it works for us in this time being, because we have to really focus on things. So that's just one way of looking at it. But then, yeah, moving forward, then the moon perfects that sextile to the sun. So maybe we can make some adjustments and modifications to how we're doing things, how the story's going, how things are being said, how things are being exchanged, where we're at, where our ideals are at, where our motivations are going, and things like that. And we can kind of make some adjustments as things are starting to close down. There's still that time to change things, to adjust things before there's no more time left. And then the moon moves into the sextile with Mercury. And yeah, and I think that just kind of re-emphasizes all those things going on. And now there's like a good relationship between the resources that the moon can get to feel good about what the exchanges that had happened, feel good about where things are at in the world, in contrast to where the world is at. So maybe the world is kind of with Saturn being in retrograde in its home sign. It's like, although things are still ordered and structures, like the world hasn't completely fallen into total apocalypse, but things are not going according to plan. So with it retrograde, it's like there's something going back over to try and to structure things so that they're more in order, more in a way that can be controlled, and that can be disciplined on some level. And I think Jupiter going back there has bringing back that hopefulness, that unifying force to try and support that. And then I think with moon in the sextile to Mercury, just after those the Sun and Mercury made the opposition to Saturn, and being in a solar sign with the Sun there too, it's like now we can kind of connect more to those exchanges that may have happened in the last days, and how we can further understand that and integrate those experiences in order to feel a bit more harmonized about it, and see that like there's a rebalancing happening that's maybe in a good order. Okay, oops. And then after that, then the moon will square with Venus. And this is going to really like carry over the vibes into the next day. This is kind of the last aspect the moon makes this day. And I think it really translates, hold on just a second. Yeah. Then I think it really like translates something into the Mercury Uranus square that took place earlier. So when did that happen? So there's going to be the Mercury Uranus square that's going to be happening later. Sorry. And Venus is in this really uncomfortable place. So what is it about Venus things that need to change on some level? So squares are kind of forceful. They're of the nature of Mars, and they want to kind of push things forward and kind of create like forceful tensions between things, so that things start to change. Things aren't going to stay the same, and we have to deal with changes. Otherwise, they're going to create circumstances for us that are going to be challenging. So Venus wants things to be very perfect, to be comfortable, but that's not really so possible right now. So maybe it's a chance for us to stop trying to make things so perfect that the outcome's not going to always be perfect, no matter how much planning and detailing and list making we make. At some level, balance also means compromise too. So things that are uncomfortable, they just can't be perfect all the time. So, this is life on life's terms. So just get on with it. Just get on with it. You got to get a grip and get on with it, and do what needs to be done. Okay, so let's move into Wednesday, August 4th, because the moon basically doesn't do much until Wednesday. So first things first, Mercury perfects that square to Uranus. So yeah, some sort of boostful, forceful, innovative, exciting, strange, but also like I said, boastful being in Leo there. And also like Mercury now is combusted in the sun, but it had that enthroned moment from being Kazemi earlier too. So Mercury is saying things that are very authentic, perhaps in its voice, but Mercury doesn't necessarily see exactly the results or the effects that vocalization may have. So there's a kind of blindness to our vocalizations at this time. We are saying things maybe that we believe in or proud of, do not want to be dishonest about, but perhaps those things are not taken the right way. Maybe they disrupt the status quo on some level. It can be that you need to say something in general. It's something that you can't change. You can't change that you need to say this thing, but because of that, changes will happen. So this could break boundaries and create some extremes in exchanges on some level. But this is also breaking apart. This is like a breaking apart of things of how things will change and that things need to change and that it is a necessary change on some level. This could just be about getting in there, saying the necessity that needs to be said, and then getting out. It's like, it's kind of just in and out, in and out. It's like there's something very sudden, disruptive. And with Mercury, it's very quickening. Mercury was about mercurial matters always have something to do with like very quick and busy and in and out kind of circumstances and events and exchanges and things like that. So it could just be like getting in, getting out. That's the thing that needed to change, and then out. That's the thing that needed to be said, and then out. Like, don't linger too long. So put the truth out there. The truth is going to get out there anyway. It needs to happen, and it could emancipate and change things, radically change things, but those things, maybe they need to change. And it could be really like exciting, but also kind of forceful and disruptive. But in a way, this is also an opportunity to be a part of that process of change. So you can actually maybe take some agency in this situation, especially with all that solar energy going on. Something about being the one that's the intentional, motivated change maker. So, sometimes saying things that are disruptive take you to places you want to be anyway. Maybe in the moment they're really uncomfortable and weird, but then they take you somewhere that you want to be, like, making a stand of some kind. This is like things change, it breaks things away, but it's all for the best on some level. Mercury, like I said, is combust. You can't really see where these exchanges are going to go. So you have to act on intention, since the sun is really ruling this exchange at this time. And you have to say things that are uncomfortable to get a new balance, since Venus, the ruling planet over Uranus, is the one that wants to bring some balance to something really specific, but something that's really uncomfortable, since Venus is in its fall. So hold on. Yeah, so that's kind of what I got for that. So let's move forward with Moon then makes the square to Neptune. Don't have too much to say about that, but yeah, maybe feelings are not so good about the fantasy of things right now. It's weird. Things are weird. Doesn't feel like it's a good time to disconnect at this moment. You have to do something right now. This is not a good time to check out, to dissolve on some level. So there's something off about that usually where you can maybe get some escapism on some level from a hard situation or from a disruptive or unexpected sudden event of some kind from that Mercury Uranus square. There's not really a chance to check out at this time. You have to kind of keep it in the action zone. And then Moon makes a trine to Jupiter. So this is a time really to say yes. This is a time to turn the red lights to green lights, to try and restore order as one can at some level. Sometimes just expressing that everything is going to be okay is enough on some level. Like, you don't need to have all the answers right now. Like, it's just a lunar transit, so it's very temporary, but you can at least translate the hope you're feeling in general. So be supportive to yourself and others if you can be. And then basically that's the last thing the moon does until it moves into Cancer. So energy shift, for the most part, it's a good thing. The moon's in its domicile now. It's pretty good in general. This is also the point where the moon was, the moon, now that the moon is in Cancer, it's also now back in the sign where it was at the last new moon. So now we're kind of back at the beginning of that lunar cycle of the last 4 weeks. So this is a time to kind of integrate what the Cancer new moon was really about. As the moon moves into that balsamic phase, it's like now we can really see where to close things up from that lunar cycle to see that, like, that what worked from that whole intention and from those new beginnings from that Cancer new moon, where those things can finalize right now. So it's a strong time to reflect, to nurture, to adapt, to feel, and being in the moon's water sign, get wet on some level. So, to dive in, to immerse oneself in a cleansing bath of some kind. Okay, so let's move into Thursday. I mean, it already said we were on Thursday, but basically the moon moves into Cancer right at the end of Wednesday. And then Thursday, not really much other than the moon's sextile to Mars goes on that day. It's really the only transit that goes on in that 24-hour period. So this is just a good day to get some shit done, with not much else going on. Use this free time to get things done you've been putting off and putting off. Mars is in Virgo, wants to be precise, clinical, articulate, surgical in all its actions and efforts. So keep things busy, keep it going. Don't allow the mind to really think so much. This is a good day to use your hands to do things that keep you feeling safe and secure in the mind. So just keep active on some level to get back to the home, get back to the family with the moon in Cancer. And maybe you can just get those busy action things done around the home. Maybe if you have to clean up some stuff or install some things or hang some stuff, just make the home more comfortable again, and use this moment to kind of like adjust things and modify things that can work really well with that. Do all those errands that need to be doing. They're really going to put your mind to rest. Okay, and that's really it for Thursday. So we can just fast forward to Friday. So first things first on Friday is that the moon makes that sextile to Uranus. It's basically just a full lunar day again. Most of the transits this week are just lunar. So this is another lunar day. Moon sextile with Uranus, good chance to rebalance things that maybe went helter-skelter during the Mercury-Uranus square. What things from those exchanges can have a chance to be reharmonized right now to get back to a more balanced level. And then moving forward, then the moon makes, translates that also from, that's why I think it's really about rebalancing too, because then the moon makes that sextile to Venus. So really, and the sextile is of the nature of Venus. So it's something we can adjust and rebalance and modify with things to connect with where the potentials for, with Venus being in this uncomfortable, more perfection, detail-based Mercury sign of Virgo, like maybe there's a way that we can try to connect with that desire for something perfect, for that desire for something fitting together in the right accorded way. So maybe just being more comfortable and relaxed, but at least directing yourself to the potential for perfection on some level. I think about it like a good way is like in yoga. You don't need to have the posture down perfectly. You really don't. It's all about pointing towards it. So if you're trying a new posture, you've been working on a new posture, and you have struggles with doing the perfect, quote unquote, perfect posture, it's okay. You just need to point to it, point towards that authentic, good feeling, aesthetically perfect potential on some level. So that's what it's about. It's not about being perfect. It's about maybe pointing in the direction on some level. And I think that's a good chance to kind of adjust and connect to that kind of way of thinking and way of being and way of understanding with things. And then last thing that the moon does before the end of Friday is that it makes the trine to Neptune. So if we didn't have a chance to disconnect the other day, now's a good chance to connect to something that's more about fantasy, more about feeling that things are being soothed, just being soothed, soothing things. Stop forcing anything right now. There's time for that later. Allow things to just dissolve on some level, because there's a lot of breaking and disruption this week. So this is a good chance, I think, to dissolve. And it is like a Friday night here in Germany, or even Friday in general, wherever you are. When the moon makes that trine to Neptune, this is a good chance maybe to do something romantic, do something maybe go to the cinema, maybe just check out for a little while, just do something that really like gets you in a good comfort zone and lets you just to feel more secure and safe in a good environment right now, because to kind of put the world's problems a little bit at the distance on some level. It's not about like totally disconnecting forever. It's a lunar transit. So it's just temporary, and use the energy to allow yourself to maybe recuperate on some level and restore some very necessary emotional energy. So that's it for Friday. So we can move right into Saturday. Moon's not going to do much until it leaves Cancer, except for that opposition to Pluto. So this could be about feeling that darkness again. I think this is relating back to what I've said in the previous few weeks, is just with all those connections to Pluto and to Saturn as well, how they're in these kind of Saturnian cold signs, winter signs. And this is like connecting to that darkness in the winter. Something scary is going on, and this is really feeling it. Things are pulled out of this Cancer comfort zone and the dissolving maybe from the transit to Neptune, as the engagement that the moon makes with Neptune comes to an end, and then it really moves just into that opposition with Pluto. So things are really being pulled out of that comfort zone into a more hardcore Capricorn zone. So from soft and safe to hard and dangerous on some level, some are very cold and dark. It's only temporary. It's a lunar sign, but this could be something putting off the remainder of the day on some level. Because it's going to be a big disruption day, since the next thing that really happens is like literally moments after that opposition is that the sun moves into that square with Uranus. So yeah, like I said before, it's pretty wild and hectic on some level. The course we're on is getting forced off course. Sun is in Leo, so it has this ability to steer some choppy waters. It has the pride, it has the charisma, it has the arrogance even to take the ship into dangerous territory. But this is like steering into rocks on some level. This is the ambition to navigate the white rapids. And then this is also having all this pride to do something a bit crazy, like steering into danger. But then you have to ask yourself, is it all worth it? Is it all worth it right now? Because, is navigating even necessary right now? Maybe it's not possible. You have to ask yourself, is it not possible to also wait till the waters calm down? Perhaps it's not about there's only one course to take. Maybe when we connect to Uranus, there's things that are really breaking away, and something novel, something innovative on some level is happening. So perhaps it's not about having to take all the power and to steer the ship and to be the one that's always in control and to be the leader at this time. Maybe it's also possible to just wait for the storm to pass. So Uranus is in Taurus, with all things kind of steadfast, rooted, pleasurable, prosperous on some level. But those things are changing. They're getting mixed up. They're getting disrupted by Uranus. Also, the ruler of Uranus right now is still Venus. So Venus is really in an uncomfortable place. It's falling into pitfalls, maybe in relationships and in things that we usually get pleasure from things that we enjoy in a beauty and aesthetic level on some level. These things maybe we're falling into familiar traps on some level. So with the sun squaring to all this, it's showing that things need to change in order to go forward. We can go forward as we usually do, but then we'll just have to see how things go. And then we're just riding on pride, right? So, but it could also be that we just get the same results as usual. If we just do things, how can we expect different results if we do the same things over and over and over again? This is an opportunity to do a new and different thing in how we go forward. This is a change to write this is a chance to change and write the next chapter of the story differently on some level. The story forward could be one of emancipations and disruptions with that Uranus connection and the forcefulness of the square. But the sun is in Leo. The sun has all the resources it needs to actually do things, to do things differently, to take new actions, to have new motivations. Rather than having motivations of fear, why not have motivations of faith and love and compassion? Like we don't have to have the same motivations and intentions as usual. We can change them now. And with this forceful change on some level, it could be that things are going to happen regardless if we want them to or not. So how can we, how are we going to choose in the way that we navigate those things? Are we going to even navigate them to begin with? The story for it could be one of emancipation, right? Or it could be one of disruptions. It's kind of like our choice here in the matter. And, to push things forward, to push things and get them to move forward too, things are changing anyway. So how are we going to do things differently? And I think this is like one of those opportunities where we can practice the opposite, to do things differently, to change the story. So moving forward, then basically the moon moves into Leo. It's basically making no more aspects. So it's one of the definitions of void of course moon, which means just that the moon makes no more aspects, and it's going to have more challenges to complete things and to do things because it doesn't have any connections to the other things going on. It's like trying to push the boulder up the hill on your own rather than having some help to do it with tools or with other people or whatever. So anyway, so the moon moves into Leo, shifting the energy, shifting the circumstances and the mood. Right there, yes. And yeah, it's a chance to get focus in on this Leo story. Now, both of the luminaries are in Leo. So what is really shining here? What is really illuminating here? What can be integrated here? What new story is about to begin with the new moon, just hours from now? What new seed is about to be planted? This is expecting that there's a new beginning around the corner, that things are going to be different. And a new start in Leo things of loyalty, legacy, centralization, purpose, pride, and dignity on some level. How are things different now that all those qualities need a new fresh start with? Where does our authenticity play into things during this new Aquarius paradigm? Things are really decentralized now. They're just scattered. They're not as the status quo. The new normal is not the normal that we remember, right? So where are you now? Where are you now that things are really scattered and decentralized? This is this moon into Leo, the whole new moon coming up. This is about finding yourself, getting in touch with your things and making a new start with those. This is re-centralizing yourself in a decentralized paradigm and really saying, like, where are you? Where am I? And getting a better perspective on where you are in this bigger picture. How can things be more, getting in touch with those more higher transcendental levels of Sun and Leo, Sun, solar qualities like humility and dignity, order on some level, and virtue and compassion, right? So how can we get in touch with those? How can we have fresh starts to engage with those qualities more? So this is a time to maybe purify those qualities to, and in a way, prevent the possibility of arrogance and tyranny, which we're all capable of. And we all maybe are our own tyrannical lord on some level, wherever it is, if it's internal, external. Like there's always everybody talks about their inner tyrant. So this is a way to kind of purify those things. So start a new chapter and seeing things really clearly, illuminate and accomplish. This is where the hero's journey can check in and see where this is the next right thing to do. And I think this is like realizing that in many ways, often we mostly know the next right thing to do, but it's like, do we do those right things? That's the question. Are we going to do the next right thing that we know we need to do, but do we do it? And this is like a chance to try to have a new fresh start and a new intentionality towards the right things that we know and where we are in this, like I said, this decentralized Saturnian paradigm. Okay, so moving forward, we're going to just go right into, I think, Sunday. Yeah, so let's go into Sunday. Moon doesn't really do anything else. Sun is still in that square to Uranus, but moving out of it. So Let's go into Sunday. First things first, Moon makes the opposition to Saturn not long before the new moon, right? So it's all about that position that I was describing. So what's the position you have in relation to the outsider, decentralized, the outside world, even with the outsider insider paradigm, this decentralized Aquarius story? And this is emphasizing the circumstances of what being between light and darkness means right now, with light being about consciousness and seeing and information and knowing, and darkness being about chaos and unknowns and illusions and the potentiality of things, where we just don't know where things are. Just like the moon card in the tarot, like the things are not as they seem to be when they're in darkness. So next thing then, of course, the moon is activating the Uranus-Saturn square. So just before it makes the new moon, it makes a square to Uranus. So understanding really understanding that this week is about breaking things rather than adjusting to, it's not about just things being perfect and harmonized as usual. The planet of harmony, Venus, is in a very uncomfortable place. Next week, it moves into Libra, so that's a different stage in this. But this week, it's like breaking things apart so that when Venus does go into Libra, then we can rebalance things. So what things are being broken apart right now? Because this week, this Leo season is about breaking the norms and going in new directions, going a new direction, because the way the story went before, it just doesn't work anymore. The new normal really has nothing to do with what happened before. Like everybody's talking about the new normal. It's like, what does that mean? What does that mean? It doesn't mean that what we had before. It means things are different and we have to go forward. We have to look forward. All right. And then, shortly after, we get that new moon in Leo. So time for a fresh start with what is authentic, individual, and worth doing. There's still one more Aquarius full moon to this lunation. So even if we get in touch with our personal individual things now, like where does that stand? Where does that stand? As I said before, and what's cool about this new moon is that it's really a fresh start for getting very clear and known on things, to know what direction we're going in and knowing what the next right things to do, but at the same time to be serious about that, because we know that the decisions we're making right now are on some level going to either help us or hinder us during this winter of 2021, 2022. So and I think that what's cool about this new moon too is that with Jupiter back in Aquarius, the full moon, the Aquarius full moon, when the moon goes all the way to Aquarius, it's going to be basically conjoining with Jupiter. So it really is a chance to figure things out, this new moon. Or at least to set intentions and to plant the seeds for things to get worked out. That things that were working before, they don't work anymore. So what is the solution now? Because the new start with that solution that we do now, it has a chance to work out. It really does. I really think it does. Okay, so that's it for Sunday. So let's move into Monday, because the moon just kind of moves towards the conjunction to to Mercury. And again, it's just mostly a lunar day this Monday, closing up this report here. So the moon makes that conjunction to Mercury, And what exchanges from before, especially during the Mercury-Uranus square, need a fresh inhale on some level. I see this as like the moon, like it's like inhaling. It's like, okay. We're like during meditation too, it's like when things get really scrambled in the brain and we're like, okay, I realize that I'm really distracted or whatever. How do I get back to here? I like check in with the breath. And I see that as this kind of moment where we have a mindfulness moment where the bell rings and we have this mindfulness moment. So can we see now what was said before, what was exchanged before, how it affects maybe us and others? Are we sure that it was the right thing or not? And this is like a chance for us to get back to the present moment of things and to just let go what needs to be let go of, and to have maybe a new start with mercurial matters on some level. And then right away after that, we get, not right away, but some few hours later, we get the moon making an opposition to Jupiter. So just kind of knowing more and more that it's time to get serious. Like, we have to kind of make new solutions. There's a chance for solutions to take place, and we got to start to bring those together. It's time to kind of take all those scattered pieces going on right now and kind of bring them together, bring them at least closer together, and just see that, like, what was before and now what is now, and then where that's going, I think. And this is like kind of seeing the two sides of that coin on some level. And then the moon moves into Virgo, and we get a new energy shift. We get the moon moving. By Tuesday, it's gonna move into the conjunction with Mars, and then Venus, as Venus kind of perfects that opposition to Neptune as well. So Mercury also goes into Virgo next week too. So this is kind of, in a way, it's like kind of preparing for that, I think, and kind of maybe connecting now and feeling out and integrating what this whole Venus through Virgo transit has been so far, as Venus is going to move into Libra next week, and kind of understanding more like things that have been uncomfortable, things that have been unintegrated, and intense and volatile as well this past week with Mars there too, and all that kind of craziness with this Uranus connections and Saturn connections. So, this is a chance to get into the details of that, to figure things out, to understand it a little bit more. We're entering a new chapter now. We really are. So, now it's time to start to write that new chapter, to write the next page. Getting back past the synopsis into the meat and potatoes of it. So, feeling out what executive decisions need to be made next. And that's really it for this week. So I'm going to close it up there. Next week really is a little bit more, there's a little bit more action going on next week. We have the Venus-Neptune opposition. So things maybe in relationships or things that have to do with Venus matters. If we think we know what's going on with them, they're probably, or at least they're not all they appear to be, right? So just be cautious with that. If you're putting too much value into something right now that has shaky ground, this may be that transit where we kind of can get really misled by some mirage on some level. So I will get more into that next week, but I think that's just one for people to be aware of. And like Venus has been building up that opposition all through this week anyway. So something to be cautious with. And then Mars makes that square to the nodes, just kind of like increase of intensity in some level, and kind of this halfway point between where things are increasing and where things are decreasing, and kind of how things are getting entangled versus how things are kind of just getting a little bit detached and weird and escaped in some level. So, but otherwise, kind of the cool things going on is we got Mercury moving into Virgo, we got Venus moving into Libra. So really good domicile energy is coming back into the mix. And I think that's a really exciting part about next week for me. And I'm looking forward to that, having more domicile energy in general, because then we can really do things, and there's a little bit less setbacks, a little less pitfalls going on. Okay, everyone, that's it for this week's report. I hope that was helpful. Please like, comment, subscribe as usual. Share this with someone you think is going to help them. If you want to book a consultation with me, information is in the description box. Just go to my website, hauntedcerebral.com, and book a consultation. Is a great time to connect with those things, as there's a lot of fresh starts and a lot of new beginnings. So hope to see you guys soon. If not, I'll see you next week, and keep coming back. Bye for now.